In today's video, we have a lot to discuss, including some offseason trade speculation around the Edmonton Oilers, looking at another potential goaltender they may be targeting. Plus, could we see a deal between the Wild and the Blue Jackets that could involve disgruntled, unsigned RFA centerman Marco Rossi? Plus, we have some updates on some of the top players in Pittsburgh that we know have been available for a while and are expected to be traded either before the season or during the season. Plus, we have a signing in Dallas, and another NHLer is heading overseas. All that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a variety of things to take a look at here today. We'll kick things off with a couple of news on some signings, one involving a player changing teams in the NHL and one with a player heading overseas. The Dallas Stars have signed UFA forward Nathan Bastien to a one-year deal. It's a one-way contract as well, and it is at league minimum $775. He put up 10 points in 59 games last year with the New Jersey Devils. So the former Devil is now a member of the Dallas Stars. Looks like he's going to likely be able to secure a role in their bottom six, probably in their fourth line, or it could become like their 12th, 13th type of forward. But Bastien will offer them a little bit more depth in that part of their lineup. Obviously, we had mentioned before there was speculation that Jakub Vrana was likely heading overseas into one of the European leagues, possibly KHL, but he has now officially signed in Sweden. So Vrana will play in the SHL for the upcoming season. As I mentioned as well, in case you've been following along the last number of days, in case you're wondering where I'm at, I have been on vacation all week. Was in a different part of Nova Scotia now. I'm in Halifax for the day, be heading home sometime tomorrow. So you'll probably get your first video back from me, back my normal situation on Monday. And otherwise, there will be another video to be posted to the channel as well. That was pre-recorded, like you've seen some of the other ones in the last number of days too. So otherwise, some different stuff to take a look at. One, we've heard plenty about the Oilers and their goaltending situation, what they may do ahead of the season. Obviously, we know that it was believed that the team didn't really want to go into next year with the current goaltending tandem of Skinner and Pickard. Now, upgrading that was obviously proven challenging so far, and a number of options that they've looked at, far from guarantees. And this one kind of falls into the same category. But Edmonton insider Bob Stauffer has made some recent comments about another potential goalie that he believes the Oilers are taking a long, hard look at, and that could be youngster Sebastian Cossa of the Detroit Red Wings. Now, a couple of things that Stauffer said was that essentially that one of the goalies that he believes the Oilers are considering is a younger goalie who has not hit for full traction here with their existing club and kind of slipped within the depth chart, if you will, within their current organization. They've lost ground and had basically another young goalie kind of get ahead of them. And he didn't say Cossa's name, but a lot of people have kind of pinpointed that he might be the guy, because he also mentioned that this goalie does have a connection to the city of Edmonton, and Sebastian Cossa played his junior hockey with the Edmonton Oil Kings. So he's a young goalie who's actually, it's not like he's done poorly, but the belief is that the Red Wings are higher long-term on Trey Augustine, and that Cossa could be expendable. Now, of course, I don't know how anxious they are to do that. Clearly, they have veteran netminders in their organization right now, expected to be playing majority, if not all, of their games for the coming season. But Cossa right now is 22. He was a 2021 first-round pick. A couple of goalies went in the first round that year, himself as well as Jesper Wallstedt. Like I said, I think right now the belief is amongst a lot of NHL people is that Augustine has kind of got the leg up on Cossa long term with the Red Wings. Last year in the American Hockey League, Cossa put up some decent numbers, a 2.45 goals against and a 9.11 save percentage. So, it just seems like it could make sense. Now, of course, we know that the belief is that if they make a move and it's a younger goalie, that they're probably looking to upgrade the backup scenario to have someone who can challenge Skinner, and with Skinner still being in his mid-20s, that he's probably not getting dealt as much as, he's kind of been an up and down goalie for the Oilers. He's been really good. Keep in mind, he's helped get them to 2 Stanley Cup finals in a row. But that said, he's also had some really good games where he was responsible for the win. And he's had some stinkers where he's been responsible for the loss too. And I think the Oilers are just looking for a little bit more steadiness and consistency back there, which is tough. I don't think you can honestly say, though, that they did not win the most recent Stanley Cup because of Skinner. I really don't think it's his fault at all. If you look at that Stanley Cup final against the Panthers, I think there's a lot of reasons why they didn't win, and Skinner is well down that list. I think there's a lot of reasons that they need to look at and address before they get to him. Now, what would the asking price be for a guy like Hossa is the next question, and could the Oilers even pull it off? They don't have a ton of younger players or prospects or draft currency that they can really afford to move. I would suspect that you're looking at, Yzerman and the Red Wings wanting, probably a similar age player coming back, or maybe another first-round pick, or something along those lines where he's still a young untapped goaltender. So it's hard to say what the asking is going to be. But yeah, it makes sense to me that he would be a guy to target. If you look around some of the veterans that they were linked to, most of those ships have sailed. Like, we heard about John Gibson. Well, he ended up being traded. He's a Red Wing now. There were some other options that were reportedly on the table. We heard some things about, Elvis Merzlikins out of Columbus. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's the right answer. I know a lot of people pointed to Carter Hart after the 2018 World Junior Trial finished, and they were not found guilty, so they won't, as of right now, they would be, eligible per se to return, but they have not been cleared by the NHL to do that. So NHL reporters are saying that these players have a ways to go before they can even consider returning, or teams can even consider signing them to a contract right now. And some believe that it may not even be a case where they're able to play for the coming season. So they really can't rely on the possibility that they could talk to him either. So that to me is out the window for the foreseeable future. So there's not a lot on the table. So they either go into the season with Pickard and Skinner, or they find a way to bring in another goalie who could maybe push Skinner and challenge for spots. And a guy like Hossa as well, it would be younger than any goalie they have right now. And if he worked out, he could be a great piece for the future. But again, can they pull off a trade? Would Yzerman be willing to part with him? Those things are a little bit uncertain, and like I said, it's a little bit of guesswork here, kind of playing connect the dots based on the Bob Stauffer comments, but it does make a lot of sense that this would be what he's looking at. But again, we will see where that goes. It's kind of difficult to say. Definitely something worth monitoring here for sure. Now, a few other things to take a look at. One, we know the Penguins are expected to be very active. We've heard about a variety of players there. The latest intel there, of course, I know Josh Yowie was on the Athletic podcast just a couple days ago saying again that he believes there's a good chance that either one or both of Rust and Raquel could be moved before the season starts, but it's hard to say for sure, but he would be surprised if something didn't come together beforehand. But the latest I've seen was Brian Rust maybe being a player of interest to Detroit. Of course, Detroit would be home for him. He's from Michigan, from Pontiac, Michigan. So, I'm sure that he would probably be interested in going there if he's going to be leaving Pittsburgh, which it seems pretty likely at this point. Detroit is a team that's trying to get better and trying to get back to the playoffs after a long absence. And Russ is a player who could be helpful. He's been a consistent top six guy, played with top talent. I really think he could be an upgrade for them on that team. But again, exactly what the return price is going to be, I'm not sure. But I know you're looking at players like, maybe Berggren or some of their other younger talent, or prospects and picks that would be the type of return Kyle Dubas is looking for. As far as Raquel goes, I've seen the latest intel there suggested that the Leafs might be an option, but of course we know they're also looking at Roslovic in free agency. But all of that is contingent on them being able to move at least one or two contracts, which has mainly been Kampf and Järnkrok that they've been looking at, possibly Robertson now that he's signed. But they haven't really had any interest in Kampf and Järnkrok. Now, if it really comes down to it and they want to be a little more aggressive with it, maybe add a sweetener, they probably could do it if they really had to. But right now, they didn't have to, and the interest hasn't been very high. So obviously, a scenario that's proven to really be dragging out here. But Raquel has been linked to a variety of teams. I don't know if Toronto's really the best option, but it does not surprise me at all. We know with what they've done so far that they probably would like to make another move to upgrade the forward group, but they don't have a lot of options right now with the cap space. They'd have to have at least one of these not so favorable contracts be moved. And that's the hard part right now. So we expect Dubas and the Penguins to be busy, but that's the latest we've heard on that front. Nothing's really changed, like I said, as far as the expectation goes. A little bit of kind of new stuff there with Rust maybe being a Detroit option, but that's all we really have on that front right now. And also looking at Minnesota, Columbus. We know Marco Rossi's been a player that's been in the rumor mill, and the latest we've heard there is that there really hasn't been any significant talks or any meaningful talks between the Wild and Rossi's camp since, I think we're dating back maybe even before free agency started on July 1, so sometime in June. So I think it's pretty clear what both sides are kind of dug in on what they want. We know that Rossi, what we had heard was somewhere around that 6x6 range. He didn't want to really sign a short-term contract because he's afraid of kind of getting, kind of pigeonholed into a smaller role with the Wild, and that he may not be able to kind of keep up what he's done, right? Because, look at how his season went last year, and then he found himself, in the playoffs in the fourth line. And I think that really concerned him. I think he's concerned about his role long-term with the franchise. As much as I think he likes being with the Wild, doesn't want to kind of get to a point where he's, kind of typecast here into a bottom six player and is going to be having difficulty putting up the numbers to get the contract he thinks he deserves, even though he was a top, one of the more consistent point producers for the team throughout the regular season. So we know that there's a decent possibility we're going to see a trade with Rossi, but the belief is that the Blue Jackets, they don't want to, or the Wild, they don't want to make themselves any worse. They know Rossi's a good player, but they're just not really crazy about paying him what he wants, so they would be inclined to want a different kind of player. And one name that's kind of makes sense here is Columbus Blue Jackets forward Dmitry Voronkov. Voronkov's name has been out there. Now, I don't think it's really a case of the Blue Jackets going out there and shopping Voronkov, but there is, he's a player that I think a lot of teams have kind of gained some interest in. Some of these Blue Jackets players really, I think, caught a lot of people's attention last year, and obviously there's been some talk of Don Waddell, of course, being in, having been in the gym now for a little bit, it's looking to really kind of make a few more moves to get this team over the hump and into the playoffs. Well, Voronkov's 24. He scored 23 goals last year, making just over $4 million. Rossi's, reportedly looking for something around a 6x6. Young centerman. Maybe there's a hockey trade to be had there between those two clubs. You look at the Blue Jackets roster, they don't absolutely need to get a centerman. I think long-term, Adam Fantilli is their number one center. And you got Sean Monahan, who signed I think it was a 5-year deal. He's going into year 2 of that contract. You've got Boone Jenner can play center and he can play wing. Yeah, you have some other options. And you picked up Charlie Coyle, but he's only signed for 1 more year. So he probably won't be there long-term. So it's kind of interesting to see maybe long term, it wouldn't be shocking to me if guys like Fantilli, and if they did pick up Rossi, they could be their top 6 centermen long term. I mean, I think, Monahan had a good season for the Blue Jackets, but in the short term, in a year or two down the road, wouldn't he not make a great number 3? That's kind of where he was at when he first arrived in Montreal. After the trade from Calgary, he kind of rehabilitated his career, got himself back on track. Of course, we know he went through a ton of injuries, was the healthiest he had been in a long time, and obviously got interest, got traded out of Montreal to Winnipeg, found himself a pretty good free agent contract. We know everything why he went to Columbus now. Unfortunately, things played out there on a personal level, but obviously, the Blue Jackets would be pretty deep with centermen if they add Rossi to the mix, and it doesn't have to be a player that absolutely goes there, but I think it's a possibility we could see a hockey trade swap for both guys. That kind of makes some degree of sense here from a contract perspective. From Minnesota's perspective, we know if they trade Rossi, they want to get another player back who can play in their top 6 or top 9, somebody who can provide secondary scoring. Voronkov is that type of player. It saves them a little bit of money on cap space. We know they get a huge extension coming for Kaprizov. We know they got to extend Gustafsson. So they're going to need to be diligent with their cap. This gets them a different kind of forward, similar age, but makes $4 million for a few more years. So kind of helps them, save a little bit in the short term while still getting a productive player. So it could be something I think that works out. So let me know your thoughts on today's signings as well as today's trade talk, and we'll take a look at the comments to see what everybody's thinking and go from there. So let me know your thoughts down in that comment section, and we will discuss further. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.